Hey guys, it's late at night here, but I can't stop thinking about this question, and that's how was Africa, Asia, and Oceania so far behind South America and becoming independent nation states? Well, it wasn't just by chance. It was geography, timing, and who held the power. Spain and Portugal were essentially the only two European nations that had significant colonies in South America, and in the early 1800s, they were both an absolute mess. Napoleon had invaded Spain and completely wrecked their economy, and Portugal was having its own internal problems, with the royal family even being forced to flee to Brazil. Suddenly, these colonies were getting a whole lot less support from Europe, and they were essentially forced to govern themselves, and they realized they kind of liked that idea. But here's the thing. South America had Creole elites. These were descendants of the original colonists who had power, money, and were ready to govern themselves. This is something that Africa never had. So within 20 years of all of this turmoil, from Mexico to Argentina, suddenly all of these new countries were popping up throughout South America. Africa, and pretty much everywhere else in the world, was a totally different story. They didn't have large amounts of Creole elites, they didn't have infrastructure, and they just didn't have a way to voice their concerns about independence like South America did. The borders were drawn by Europeans, and the main goal was extracting natural resources, not settling down like what happened in South America. Independence for Africa and a lot of Asia and Oceania came after World War II, when the European powers were strained and their resources were thin, so they had to give them independence. The bottom line is that South America's independence happened at such a critical time. It was fast, it was elite led, thanks to these creoles, and it's something that never would have been able to happen in Africa, where the colonial structure was so incredibly different. That's why independence came over 100 years